Hello, and welcome to another GamingStooges Talks video.
Oh God!
Hi.
Yeah, it's
another
the usual-
GamingStooges top 10 talks video.
It's the usual gang. We actually have all four of us here. So
Say
today,
hi, Justin.
Yeah, Justin, say hi.
Oh,
Justin?
what?
Oh. Never mind.
Okay.
Good
Okay.
enough.
Good enough. We got him at least. All right, so today we are going to talk about our top 10 RPGs. This was a poll. There was a poll, and you guys voted, and we are going to be doing the top summer levels in a future video this summer. But since Top RPGs was the winner by one vote, we're going to talk about each of our favorites. This one's going to be an individual list, so each person has their own set of 10 entries. However, to try to keep things a little on the short side, there will be a 3-minute timer to talk about each game going around the table. Not going to get into the other specifics. You guys all know our top 10 lists by now. So let's begin with Jack's number 10.
It's also worth noting that we tried to keep one per franchise rule
Yeah.
for each of our lists, but yeah. I guess I'll just go. Okay. My number 10 is Fallout New Vegas. So Fallout, good series before the fourth game. I considered Fallout 3, but honestly, Fallout New Vegas just has a much better story, characters, writing, weapon customization, just general better DLCs. Just really, it's better in just about every way, except for like the world you explore. But even still, I think that Fallout New Vegas is a really fun, first person. Well, not necessarily first person, you can play in third person if you want, but a Western RPG set in the Mojave Wasteland of Nevada. And it just has a really interesting story where there's like several different like options and different paths you can take, and there's tons of different areas to explore that are all really interesting. It's full of great characters, and I don't have much else to say about it. It's a game that I've gotten a lot of mileage out of, just from how replayable it is, and just how generally fun it is to play in general. So, I said generally in general, but whatever. That's all I have to say.
Alright, my number 10 is Undertale. Undertale came out back in 2015. It was my game of the year. Go check out our top 10 games of 2015 if you happen to like gaming in 2015. I don't know.
2015 sucked.
Yeah, it wasn't the best year for gaming. But it did have this gem, which I really, really like because it actually pokes fun and like kind of deconstructs a lot of tropes that make RPGs what we know them to be. And they're just like, well, how about we take the cliche where like, you kill these monsters indiscriminately, and we actually make these monsters actually be, actual characters with real lives, and what happens if you do kill them, and you can basically choose to go through the game trying to spare everything possible, or you can go on a bloody swath and kill everything that there is. It's all up to you, and there's drastic plot changes depending on which path you take, although there are 3 major endings, so bit of replay value. I did all of them. You can handle all of them in about a span of 15 hours. Just really good soundtrack, the story, the characters are all just really great. I like the little aesthetic where it's kind of like a Earthbound type style. That's really cool. But yeah, I mean, overall it's just a really fun game. It's a little on the short side, but it has a lot of emotional impact when you get to experience like some of the heavier stuff in the story. It's got some really cool twists and turns that's there, but that's about it. What I've said is basically something anybody else has already probably said about this game. Anyway, Justin.
My number 10 is Knights of the Old Republic. Probably still considered one of the greatest Star Wars RPGs ever made, and there's actually not a lot of Star Wars RPGs now that I think about it. It was actually kind of a new game for me at the time when I played it, simply because of the fact that I actually was not that used to turn-based RPGs back in the day, because a lot of the games I played, besides like Final Fantasy, I mean, I know that is turn-based, but still, were real-time. So the whole turn-based system was kind of like weird. It's kind of more like a pseudo turn-based, because everything is still actually moving even without your input, but they still kind of like trade blows like a turn-based game, so I guess it kind of counts. It was, standard light side, dark side shenanigans like all Star Wars is, but the fact that you actually had like a major role during all that, like you had your own created character, you weren't like some set movie character or something like that, like how most of the Star Wars games are. It was new at the time. And, it's like the freedom to be either basically just like any old Jedi or to be a dick-headed Sith was, it was liberating, because you normally don't get that kind of choice. Usually the games are pretty linear and put you on a set path that you can't really deviate from. And I thought that was kind of cool. Besides that, I just like the character interactions. They're really fleshed out. Everybody has like their own backstory and reason for either sticking around with you or just doing whatever they're doing. And you usually have to take them with you to get more information on their backstory, because they usually don't open up right away. But yeah, it's kind of like those whole little affection kind of things where dragging them along makes them like you more. That kind of thing. Other than that, though, I just think it's a good RPG to waste time in, stuff like that.
Alright, Landon.
Do you guys remember the Game of the Decades list?
Yeah.
Neither do I. My number 10 is Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia. Ha ha ha. This was a remake of the second game to ever come out, Fire Emblem Gaiden. Never came out over here. They had some huge changes from the original version, because it was an NES. It was a Famicom game. But I just liked the core gameplay of Fire Emblem. But it was a departure from what we have had access to, because it doesn't feature the weapon triangle as heavy as other Fire Emblem games before it, and it had dungeon exploring, which not really a big thing in Fire Emblem games. And I enjoyed the dual story perspective, where you had Alm's story and Celica's story, and you're switching back between them, and then eventually they sort of meet up. And then you have a whole post-game area where you're exploring the original Fire Emblem game's continent, and it's pretty big. That's what I got to say about that.
Oh, okay. So, Jack.
Hey, you know how Lennon just talked about Fire Emblem Shadows of Valentia?
You're going to talk
Nope.
about a different Fire Emblem game.
Yeah. Yeah. My number 9 is Fire Emblem Three Houses. Three Houses is my favorite Fire Emblem game. It was my game of the year for 2019. Not that I played a ton of games in 2019, but still. It was a game that I played just for hours at a time, days on end, because I was just so engrossed. The game is really fun. It takes the typical Fire Emblem formula. We've talked about this so many times, but it takes the typical Fire Emblem formula and basically turns it into a Persona calendar system, where you decide on a week-to-week basis what you want to do. Do you want to explore the monastery? Do you want to teach your students? Do you want to go into battle, etc.? It's a really interesting way of building your team, and the gameplay is as fun as it's ever been in the series. I love a lot of the characters. We did a whole review for this game. Go watch that too. Otherwise, I think that's it. It's good. I like it.
So, My number 9 is Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions. It's kind of hard to pick between the original Final Fantasy Tactics and the War of the Lions just because they do have their pros and cons, but overall, I am going to say War of the Lions just because it adds so much. Final Fantasy Tactics is a strategy RPG, and if I am looking at this at a glance, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the only strategy RPG on my list. It's still my favorite one. The plot is so deep, and yet it's so fascinating when you get into it. The characters are all pretty great. In fact, I would say that a lot of the characters and the writing are much better than a lot of regular mainline Final Fantasy games. The gameplay has a lot of depth. It does start a little slow because you're stuck with like default classes, but with the job system you get to unlock more and more and more, and as you open up more classes you just get this snowball effect of like tinkering your ultimate team together and having like the most broken units with the best ability sets, and it's just really heavy on gameplay and just customizing your team to be whatever the fuck you want them to be. I had like this 200-hour file where I ended up making myself a Dark Knight. I had pretty sure I had like Landon and Justin in there as units. Jack might have been there, although that's kind of a long time ago that I last played, so I wouldn't know. But anyway, it's just a really good game. Great music. The only reason I put War of the Lions again is because there's extra classes that aren't in the original, like Dark Knight, and a bunch of like optional side content that you can do like near the end of the game, as well as like multiplayer stuff. So it's really cool. Although the original is perfectly fine and it does run at a much smoother frame rate, so I mean either version's really good. It's a fantastic game. I definitely suggest a lot of strategy RPG enthusiasts to try it out. Justin, damn it, that's your cue.
I don't get it.
I don't either. Tell us your number 9.
My number 9 is Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Oh.
Yeah. I never played the original, which is why it's not on my list, and I never had a PSP, so I never played the sequel. So this is the game I was stuck with. It's obviously...
Remake.
Oh. It's very different from obviously the original Tactics, because it's kind of like got that sort of that anime genre that people love to hate, the fucking isekai thing where you're sent to another world because you're like a bunch of goofy kids throwing snowballs at each other until of course someone gets the one with the rock in it, and you know, the kid that gets hit, he hates his life, thinks everything is balls, and wishes that his life was better. And for some reason that causes everybody to get transported into the Final Fantasy world. I don't know why that happens, it just does. And from there you basically just meet all the standard like characters that you'd run into, like all the different races, like Moogles and fucking everything else that I'm not remembering right now. And it's kind of got this like weird world map thing where you kind of like run around endlessly passing days until something happens. So it's kind of like not really super linear, because you can kind of just wander around, although you're technically just kind of, it's kind of like the map from Awakening, so I guess maybe it's not really wandering, but it kind of almost has like a sandboxy feel to it, where you don't necessarily have to just keep doing story quests. But other than that, I really don't have any point of reference because I never played the other two, so in my eyes, this was just a really good tactical RPG that I really like playing. I remember grinding the shit out of everything, trying to get all the jobs that I could, and, you know, just getting as many skills as I possibly could muster. I had a lot of fun with it. It's just, part of me does really wish I played the originals, because I just wanted, you know, want to compare them to see how good they are to each other. And that's about it.
Remember when everyone else was talking about Final Fantasy games, except for Jack?
No.
You're going to talk about
That's
not Final Fantasy.
That's right. My game's the last story for the Nintendo Wii, because the Wii won.
Get over it.
So yeah, the last story was one of the 3 Operation Rainfall RPGs that eventually made its way to the North Americas. I say that as if there's more than one North America. Oh, boy. Sorry, there's fireworks going off, and so, like, I'm a little scatterbrained right now. The last story is a video game that I like. I like the music, the art style. It has a fun action combat system, and where there's like magic circles on the ground, and you run over to them and use them. It depends on the character you're using. It's also been a little bit since I played it, but I very much enjoyed the story and the characters in the game. And that's all I'm willing to say right now.
All right, Jack.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
That's all I got right now.
All right. Number 8 is Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. Hey, remember our top... Is this also your number 8?
No.
Oh, okay. Damn. Okay, so our number... Fuck.
Your
Shit.
number.
Go back to my number 8. Go back to our Mario spin-offs list. Hey, this might have been on there on my list. Who knows? Yes, it was.
Hey,
so
it might have been on my list on that video.
Maybe. So, yeah, Mario, I already talked about it in that video, but I'll talk about it a little bit again. Bowser's Inside Story is a great turn-based game where you control Mario and Luigi, as the title implies, but in, as a bit of a difference between it and the first two games, like, all the Mario and Luigi sections are like, well, not all of them, but like a lot of them are like side-scrolly because you're inside Bowser. And then Bowser does like the overworld, like normal RPG shit. Although there are times where like Mario and Luigi get outside of Bowser and then they're... Whatever. The point is that you can control Bowser and that's cool. I love it. I really like the story. It's really fun. I love the characters and the writing and the music, and it has a charming art style. It has really cool boss fights where you fucking turn the DS like on its side, and like it really gives like a what's the word? It gives like a weight, I guess, to like the boss fights and make them seem more like grand. I don't fucking know. They're good and I like them. That's really all I gotta say. I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's a good game. Go play it. Don't play the remake. Play the original.
All right, my number 8 is Nier Automata. I talked about this game on my top 10 game or top 15, top 15 games of the decade list. I talked about this game on my top games of 2017 list. Go watch those. I think I've said enough about this game. I really love the characters. The plot made me cry. The action is really, really cool. The whole atmosphere is also really cool. The music is fantastic. And yeah, I've said the same thing the last 2 times I talked about this game. So yeah, go play it.
Let's be real here.
Don't need to say
He doesn't mean any of that. He means none of that.
What do I
He
mean?
only likes this game because it has 2B's ass.
Okay. But there's also other good stuff about the game too.
You play it. You bought the.
You buy the game.
ass.
You buy the game because of 2B, but you play the game because holy shit, it's Evangelion in a game. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Alright. Dying. I always die in every list. My number 8 is Mega Dimension Neptunia. It's actually been a while since I really played a Neptunia game. I don't know so much if, like, I've just kind of, like, lost interest, or, I just haven't had the time, but,
There hasn't been a big Neptunia game, that's the problem.
Yeah,
Since, like, Mega
I
Dimension.
think the last one was Super Neptunia RPG that came out kind of recent,
But that's not
it's
really
like
like a big full-scale production game like the other ones are.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on.
Mega Dimension, I consider, well, I mean, I had some time with Mark II, but I admittedly played Victory more than Mark II, and I don't like the original, even though I bought it. But I
That's
do
okay,
think,
nobody does.
I do think Mega Dimension is better than pretty much every game that came before it. Because, like, they did some obvious fixes to the story, like the whole stupid plot where Victory implied that everybody just hated Nepgear for some reason. Neptune was an absolute fucking ass in that game. I don't know why. Because really, the reason why this game is so high on my list, not just because I like the gameplay mechanics, because I think Victory was kind of balls sometimes in the difficulty. This one is a little bit more approachable, as well as the fact that there were several story fixes to the characters, which were really fucking bad in Victory. And of course, because I love my Dragon Ball, I just like the fact that they have new transformations in this one, which does give a little bit of uniqueness to the main goddesses anyway. Still no new transformations for the candidates
because they can't go Super Saiyan 2.
Oh, this is Hyper Neptune. Nepgear only gets her super form, even with the super emeralds. But anyway,
Rip Tails.
yeah. But yeah, I just like the gameplay, like some of the extra bits that I think carried over from Fairy Fencer F, because that was the game that came before Mega Dimension. And I just think I just like how the dialogue can sometimes happen even when you're just kind of like running around doing whatever, because it makes it feel like characters are actually alive and not just static when you're looking at shit. And you know, I just think the overhauled mechanics work better. It kind of got a little bit getting used to the fact that instead of your like little drive gauge being full and carrying over to every battle, it fills up faster now, but it completely empties every time the battle's over. So you can't just do what I used to do and just fucking absorb all, or not absorb, but
all right, Justin, you got 10 seconds.
Oh, well, it's a good game.
It's a good game. All right, Landon, go ahead.
Remember when later in the list...
Are you gonna do this every time it's your turn to talk?
Let me...
No. Let him say.
Remember when later in the list Jack talks about his number... Same. Xenoblade Chronicles is my next game on my list.
Whoa. Never mind.
It's not like we don't know what his is, but you know.
Redacted.
Whatever.
Redacted. Xenoblade Chronicles is the other game that we will talk about that came out during the Operation Rainfall games for the Wii. But specifically, we can talk about the Definitive Edition because that came out, and I played that, and I like that. It fixes... Oh, I have spit in my mouth. Probably
maybe you were drooling over the game.
No, it's just... There's just spit accumulating in my mouth. It's not drooling out of my mouth.
You were drooling...
What? Anyway, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition fixes the small things that I had issues with the original version, and it also adds additional story content in the form of a new epilogue. I enjoy the game immensely. I think like all the characters are really solid. I believe that the world is very nice. I like enemy designs. I enjoyed the future-connected story epilogue. I kind of wish that it tied into the main game, so levels kind of carried over, but oh well. You do get Master Arts if you beat the epilogue. You get it in the main game. Overall, it's a solid package. Anyone who can play this game should play this game. And specifically, you should play as Melia, or Dunban, or Ricky, or Ryan, or Seven, or Shulk. Charlotte's alright too. She's not fun to play as.
Okay.
Alright. My number 7 is, hey, you know how Landon just talked about Xenoblade Chronicles?
Nope.
I'm gonna not talk about that right now.
Yeah. This is later in the list.
This is getting so old.
Shut up.
You know what else is getting old? Us.
Yeah. Hey, remember when Reggie lit a man on fire? That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
My number 7 is Mother 3. Come on, Reggie.
Give us Mother 3.
Give us Mother 3.
No,
Yeah,
you
Mother
give us
3.
Mother 3.
I was kind of like, this or Earthbound, yeah, I like this one more. Mother 3 is, a turn-based RPG. Published by Nintendo. I forget the development team's name. It was made by Shikasato Itoi, but I forget the fucking team's name. But it was only released in Japan for the GBA in 2006. Still has yet to be localized. HAL Labs. That's who made it. It has, like, all of, like, the weird, like, charms and, like, quirks of Earthbound, but it also has, in my opinion, more compelling characters and also just, like, a better story in general. Really fucking sad story, by the way. Like, incredibly sad. Probably the saddest Nintendo game ever made. It's really fucking good though. It's I love the art style. I love the characters and like I said, the story and like all the locations you explore. It's like the gameplay is like, not super exceptional, but like you don't play the Mother series for the gameplay. You play it for like the story and the world and the characters and all that. But it's good. It's really good. Like, there's an official, well, not official, but like a fan translation has been out there for like fucking ages, and like I definitely recommend playing it if you have not already, and you enjoy JRPGs. Okay, I'm done.
My number 7 is. No, I'm not going to build up any hype. My number 7 is Persona 5.
Hey, we reviewed that game.
Yes,
we did.
We did review Persona 5. We not only reviewed it, it also appeared on all of our lists for top games of 2017, and very high up there, I might add. If you haven't watched our review or seen that list of top 2017 games, go watch those, because we basically went into Persona 5 for like an accumulated like 10 plus minutes. I think we've said enough about this game. This game is awesome. It has really great characters and writing. The style is just really cool. It's a really great game. I'm not gonna spend any more time talking about the. Yeah.
My number 7 is Mario & Luigi's Superstar Saga. This was probably the first Mario RPG I've ever played because lack of Super Nintendo. Yeah, it was definitely something new and I just like the fact that the story is kind of like very tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of like fucking around most of the time. Because they did that in Paper Mario, but I've never played Paper Mario, so the only experience I have is with the LP. But it's kind of like that, where they just kind of like fuck around with the story, and characters act kind of strangely. And Mario and Luigi do various humorous things, up to and including like squishing each other as they like jump all over each other trying to use their powers and shit. And like the abilities, like the jumping and the hammers and everything else, they're done in amusing ways, and some of them even kind of reference like old Mario stuff. Like I think using Luigi's hammer on Mario turns him into like his mini form, like he does in like the old games. But I just like the way the story is written, how the characters interact, and just the fact that Mario and Luigi just mumble when they're supposed to be talking. It's very lighthearted, and like I said, I always tend to like the Mario side games more than the main games, and this one was no exception.
My number 7 is Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Echoes of the Elusive Age.
Completely unnecessary second count.
I liked it.
You're welcome. Remember when we did our top 10 game, or remember when we did my top 10 games of 2019?
Yeah, that was last year. Actually, we talked about it at the beginning of this year.
Yeah. That was my number one game of 2019 because I played the Nintendo Switch version, so it counted. And then we did a decade list, and hey, it was on that. Hey, guess what? It's on this list because, hey, I decided to remember that we did a decade list finally. And I had RPGs on it. Well, technically, Xenoblade was also on that, but it was in the lower end, in the honorable mentions. Anyway, I like Dragon Quest XI. It is a very well-made RPG. It looks really nice. It plays really nice. It has a bunch of fun characters. The main character is kind of bland, but that's because, you know, he's a hero character. Oh well, silent protagonist. The music is fantastic. Also, there is an entire retro mode for the Switch version, where you can play the game in like an old school 8-bit variant, which I dig. And then the Switch version also has additional story content in the form of being able to travel to all of the other Dragon Quest worlds and do side quests in there. Yeah, no, I just really adore the game. It's fantastic.
Alright, Jack.
Alright.
Number 6.
My number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Wow. Hey, guess what?
Yeah.
I'm playing that game right now.
You are.
Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it.
I cannot say, because it could appear later in the list.
Oh. It won't, but
But it could.
It could. Yeah, Final Fantasy VI is like a classic. Classic Super Nintendo RPG. It's definitely my favorite Final Fantasy game. I don't really have a ton to say about it. I mean, I love... I feel like I've been saying this for a lot of... pretty much every entry on this list, but I love the characters, the world you explore, the story. The gameplay is fun. Fuck. I mean, I don't know. Music's fantastic. Did I say that already? Yeah, I don't know. I mean...
Talk about how you can suplex the train.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, but I wanted to be like, I don't know. Yeah, you can suplex a train, and it's the greatest thing in the history of video games. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got. Play Final Fantasy VI.
My number 6 is actually kind of topical. The World Ends With You, which recently had an anime announced, which looks really cool, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about the game. World Ends With You was a very unique DS released RPG back in 2008. I totally butchered that whole sentence, but it makes use of the dual screens in a really unique way because you team up with a partner and each of you has control over one of the screens, and you control your main character, Neku, on the touch screen. That opens up a bunch of gameplay avenues because you collect like these pins and they do different attacks on the touch screen. So there's a bunch of ways that you can customize like how you approach battles. I think it's really cool that you can tinker with your level to like handicap yourself to get more rewards by making your level lower. That's really cool. The style is like really unique because it takes place in like Shibuya, and it has Tetsuya Nomura's probably most vintage art style that he's known for. Like this game reeks of it, but it's done really well. It's handled really well. The music is really good. The plot's just really interesting because like it takes place in like this game that's part of like basically purgatory. It's really cool though, but I don't really have much else to say. All I gotta say is it's just an excellent game, and I think one that a lot of people that like unique RPGs, especially having a DS, should probably try it out. Burp.
Belch. My number 6 is... this one should be obvious. Pokemon.
Yes,
one?
I also love Pokemon.
Which one?
Can I say all of them?
No.
Pick one. Come on.
I would say Gen 2 is the least buggy.
Oh, how wrong you are. But go on.
Yeah. So like...
Well, if he's only ever played Gen 1 and Gen 2, then it's the least buggy.
But yeah, Gen 2... Well, I guess this one specifically. I just like because, like, if you played it, like, back in the day, it was obviously like, oh god, this game actually... Well, it kind of works. Sometimes it freaks out, but, like, it's a lot less often than the original one. So it's just like, yeah, I know it reuses a lot of the Kanto Pokemon because they're basically neighbors, because, like, you know, you can kind of travel to Kanto after you get past most of Johto. But it's just the fact that, even though it feels like more of the same, I still feel like the game just improved in places that it needed to improve. And I also hear an echo. I don't know who that is. And, I don't know. It's just it's just a good game. The gyms are not really that well balanced, to be honest, and that's probably my only complaint about the game. But otherwise, I just had a lot of fun with it. It was fine.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Landon.
Okay. My number 6 is another game that was on the decade list. Persona 5.
Hey.
Hey.
That's a good game.
Yeah, it's an alright game, you know? It's okay.
It's A-okay.
You know, there's definitely, there's definitely other games out there.
I mean, that is true.
Yeah. There are other games out there. I enjoy Persona 5. I thought about putting SMT4 or SMT4 Apocalypse on this list, and I was like, well, I guess I should probably do the game decade thing and put the game I put on there, even though I didn't do that for Fire Emblem. Oh well. So yeah, Persona 5 calendar system. You play as Dude McGuy, who gets beat up by the cops because he's robbing people's souls or whatever. And then you talk to a lawyer for it's like 70 hours of gameplay, and then you have another 40 hours of gameplay after you catch up with that.
It's not
and
that
then
much.
Something. Maybe I'm talking about the Royal Edition, which I did not say I was playing or talking about. You
haven't played it though.
That's why I said Persona 5, not Persona 5 the Royal. Leave me alone.
Okay.
Anyway, then you beat up God, and that's the end of that, because he was a cop all along. The characters are great, the art style is great. Wow, you can play a drinking game out of this every time we say something about the character's art style, music, or gameplay.
Yeah.
Don't do that. We
Wow.
will probably cause so many people to get blackout drunk.
Or, since this is, never mind. I was going to say something topical, but it's not going to be topical by the time this goes up, so never mind. Yeah, Persona 5, fun.
Alright, we've reached the halfway point, so we've got 5 more entries per person to go.
Oh boy.
Not making too bad a time, so let's just jump right in.
Okay. My number 5 is... Excuse me. My number 5 is Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald. Hey, it's that game I LP'd.
No, you just said 3 games.
Okay. Hey, I LP'd one of those games.
Okay, thank you.
Alright.
Now you have to go do the other 2. God
damn it. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, like, go watch the LP, but, like, I love these games. I grew up with them. It's, like, one of the most nostalgic games ever for me. It's my favorite generation of Pokemon. I love the Hoenn region, and the music is incredible, and I like the Pokemon that it introduced. I don't know. It's just really good. I mean, like, it's not a perfect game, of course, and I acknowledge that, like, you know, the big reason why I like this one more than any other generation is almost entirely because of nostalgia, but I don't care. It's my favorite, and it's number 5 on my list, and that's pretty much all I gotta say. Go watch the LP.
My number 5 is Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 was a game I first played way back in early 2006. I guess you could probably consider this entry as like more so like the final mix version, because I am going to talk about that. Kingdom Hearts 2 is the sequel to Kingdom Hearts, which decided we're going to throw Final Fantasy and Disney together. That doesn't sound like it should work, but we're going to make it work anyway. And it worked anyway. But the sequel, I think, does a better job of balancing like a whole new plot line with new characters that's like coming out of nowhere, separate from like other Square-owned franchises, and also manages to blend in like the right amount of Disney. It takes itself seriously enough, but it also gets goofy when it needs to be. The gameplay is I did not mean to do that part, but anyway, the gameplay is really good. It can be kind of button mashy, but like watching Sora level up and gain these like new cool attack strings, and he's going from like doing like these basic combos to like you're doing this intricate like 10-hit combo where like half of it he's like in the air doing flips and shit. It's pretty cool. Just the gameplay flows really great. The bosses are just, oh my god, some of like the best bosses I've ever fought in a video game. The action RPG gameplay just is, it really holds up well. I can like come back, pop it in. It's just as much of a blast to play. The music is great. The graphics are gorgeous. We've basically said these same points talking about every other game that we like on this list. Drinking game, go. Yeah, no. But I mean, I've said my pieces about Kingdom Hearts 2 before. So it's a great game.
Well, I hope you liked your just raw RPGs, because for most of this list, we're going to the tactical side of things.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, boy.
So number 5 is Fire Emblem Awakening, because I don't have a Switch.
Tell us about this game full of strategy.
So, I still like this more than Fates, because Fates had a few things they just don't jive with me.
Fates had a lot of things very wrong with it.
Yeah. You're not alone in that opinion, Justin.
So, everybody calls this the casual, nooblet, whatever Fire Emblem game, and I say, fuck you. That doesn't change the fact that people can enjoy the game, which I did, and if it wasn't for Awakening, there would be no Fire Emblem. So...
Well, no more Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But... yeah, it's like, I just like all the little, like, this is basically a Fire Emblem Generations, because this literally had, like, everything from every other game. Like, apparently the world map is from Thracia, which I've never played, but that's what it is. I don't know if the pair-up system was new, or if this is, like, something that they took from something else, but I like it, because, yeah, I know, it makes your characters way too fucking broken. But, I don't care, because you have fun with it, and that's the point of the game, because if you're not having fun, then you get Fates. So, I wouldn't say the story's the greatest, because it's just like, oh no, evil god, what the fuck, time travel. But, at the very least, I'll praise this about the time travel. They kind of do the Dragon Ball thing, instead of what you expect from time travel. Whatever happens in the future stays in the future. Even if they change the past, it doesn't actually alter the future anyway.
Don't you do this. Don't you make me start thinking that Lucina's future Trunks.
I mean, she
kind of is.
Can't she change the future?
Would you like to join the Time Patrol?
Well, let's look at it this way. Lucina comes from the future, she has a sword, and one of the first things she does when she encounters the enemy is she slashes them to pieces. Therefore, she killed Frieza.
Fuck!
So yeah. There you go. I don't really think I need to say any more about Awakening.
Lucina is Future Trunks is Silver the Hedgehog.
Dude, my mind is blown.
Alright, Lennon.
But I just want a picture of Lucina doing a heat dome attack on Imperfect Cell. Someone make that, please. Anyway, remember when we were just talking about a strategy game? That's right, my number 5 was Valkyria Chronicles 4 all along. I hid it from you, in plain sight, by telling you what it was.
Wow.
Gotcha.
I can't believe it.
I know. I talked about this when I made it my game of the year of that year it came out, and I also talked about it on the decades list when we made the decades list. So, hey, it's like these last 3 entries were all on that decades list. Weird.
Yeah.
I went with Valkyria Chronicles 4 over Valkyria Chronicles 1 because I feel like Valkyria Chronicles 4 has more polish because it does. Also because of the newer classes, the newer class in it, I should say. It's also, it's a very fun game. I enjoy the setting because while it does take place in the same war as the first game, it gives you a new perspective on a different area of it, to show you sort of like other things that were happening at the same time, and it's cold, so, Justin likes that part, I'm sure. I don't
Who's
know.
Who's that one party member that's a rat bastard?
All of them?
But like the vulgar boy.
Oh, what was his name? Shit.
I don't know. I
Anyway.
like him. Whatever his name is.
I have to go look it up now.
Okay.
While he goes and looks it up, Jack, why don't
yeah,
you tell us about
yeah.
your number 4?
My number 4 is Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I'm gonna try to not mention. I'm not gonna say it in this. Raz, yeah, that guy. I'm not going to say it in the same way we've been saying it throughout the whole damn video, but this was my favorite. Well, still is. This was my number 1 on the Mario spin-offs list. It's. What'd you say?
Nothing. Continue.
Okay. Yeah. Go watch that. It's a great game. I love the character, story, setting, blah blah blah. It's all good. It's really good. It's got great music. I love the art style. Great gameplay. Like, actually really good gameplay. It's like, I do really love Paper Mario 64, but
No, you don't have to.
I do.
That way.
I do.
It's fine.
I just don't love it as much as Thousand Year Door.
Stop lying to yourself.
Listen,
Free yourself from these chains.
Shush. But I do think that, Thousand Year Door takes the combat system from the original game and, refines it a little bit. And it has, one of my favorite combat systems in, any RPG. It's just really, inherently really fun to play. And, I like it a lot. LP coming one day. That's all I got.
1,000 years from now.
Hey.
My number 4 is actually, I was having a hard time choosing between the original game here and the remake, but I decided ultimately to go with the remake, and that is Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver. There was going to be a Pokemon...
Oh, well, I might as well talk as well, because I have Pokemon Gen 2 here, but it doesn't really matter.
So yeah, Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver, Pokemon Johto region, whatever you want to call this entry, it's good. And everybody expected a Pokemon game on my list. Well, here it is. It's actually not as high as some people might have thought. But Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver has 16 gyms, and has 2 regions, and has some of the best gym leaders that are in the series today, even now. And that's not just nostalgia. I actually legitimately think that a lot of these gym leaders are better than most of the newer ones. Just the fact that there's just so much that they crammed extra in this remake is also just really good. There's so many cool things that they should be bringing back, like Battle Frontier, or Pokemon following you, and not the glitchy way that they did it in the Isle of Armor DLC. Good lord, but at least it's something. Pokeathlon only was in this game, and it was actually kind of fun. They extended so much that the original didn't have, all these unlockable areas that weren't in Gold Silver before, mostly because of the fact that they didn't have the space to do it. And it makes Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver, with all of the extras things that you can do, and all the replayability that is there for you, it just feels like the most complete Pokemon experience that's ever come out. And I don't think that there's going to be a game that tops it, at least not without it being like a goddamn masterpiece. Because Pokemon Heart Gold Soul Silver is as close as a Pokemon game is getting to that. Basically, I've said everything that I want to say. What did you want to say, Landon?
I really enjoyed the originals, like a lot, sort of like what Justin was talking about. I don't really have a preference over the remakes or the originals, but I will say the remakes are definitely the better game. I just can go back to like playing the originals because nostalgia. Heart Gold, Soul Silver are definitely the best Pokemon games out there. Sans some of like the side game stuff. Too bad none of that's on my list because I decided not to stack even within the same franchise. Huh. Anyway, Pokemon Heart Gold, Soul Silver, just fantastic all around. You said pretty much everything.
All right, Justin, that leaves you.
Oh, that's a weird order all of a sudden. Okay, number 4 is definitely something that I don't think I've talked about it all on any list. Front Mission 3.
Ooh.
Front Mission 3 is another tactical game, but this one involves giant mechs. This one's a little bit more in the realistic kind of depiction of mechs, so they're kind of like big lumbering hunks of metal that just shoot the shit out of each other and can't really do anything too flashy, really. That's also where I got the idea for Mecha Jack, because he ended up with a redheaded chick that piloted a pink mech. No, I did not color it pink, it actually started that way. And, you know, it's just like, it kind of feels like a two-sided tactical kind of game, because not only do you have to worry about the mech, you have to worry about the pilot, because the pilot can actually get killed, or just straight up ejected out of the mech, and then you could just gank it if you wanted to. There's not a whole lot to talk about, because it's really just a tactical RPG just with mechs. But, you know, obviously, the biggest thing is that you just have to fit them properly for each mission, otherwise you're going to have an awful time actually completing anything if they're not properly equipped. I mean, you'd have to play it to actually really appreciate the Front Mission series, but I like it. It's a fun game, and it's mechs. That's always a plus.
Alright, so we're going to move on to our top 3, starting with Jack.
Alright, my number 3 is a game I've played very recently. It's Persona 5. Specifically, Persona 5 Royal. Because, I mean, it's the definitive version of the game and adds an extra, I think 20 hours of content to the game. On top of, a great new character in Kasumi, who I love. Persona 5, you know, I talked about this in my Game of the Year 2017 list. I talked about this on my Top Games of the Decade list. It's an amazing game. I'm not going to repeat myself with all the things I've said about it before. So I'll say play Persona 5 Royal, because it adds not a ton, but enough to the original game that, in my opinion, it's worth playing again if you haven't played it twice already. I mean, I played through the original Persona 5 twice to get the platinum, and then I played through the Royal to also get the platinum for that. It was still even though I had played the game twice before, it was still incredibly fun the third time around, and I love this game. It's so good, so good.
My number 3.
That's all.
Is Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger was originally released back on the Super Nintendo in 1995, right? Yeah. I played both the PS1 re-release of the original as well as the DS remake, and port/remake. It's kind of half and half. It is just what can you say about Chrono Trigger that hasn't already been said by YouTubers thousands of times more popular than us, as well as just anybody who's discussed the game on a forum board. Like, it is a timeless, pun intended, classic that is just, it has an incredible journey start to finish, where you play as this character who just wanted to go to a festival and then gets swept into a time traveling plot to save the world from an apocalyptic horror. It's just really cool. The characters are all great. The fact that time traveling is one of the coolest things about the game, and it's probably the time traveling is handled better than most games that handle time traveling, so that's saying a lot. And the great turn-based / ATB-based gameplay that it kind of mixes like what the other Super Nintendo Final Fantasies were doing with like some other. It's very interesting though. Like I really think it's just a great game all around. And the DS adds a bunch of like optional stuff, and it's not like amazing, but it still adds extra content that makes the game that much more replayable. Yeah, that's it. Chrono Trigger.
Oh. Alright, my number 3. Oh yeah, by the way, remember when I was talking about lumbering mechs? Well, it's time to get flashy, because it's time for Gundam.
Oh boy.
You have 3 minutes! Just so you know.
So, because this game has been constantly creeping up in every list I've ever made, I'm gonna try to like be brief with it and just say, I just like Gundam. You know, it's like, I honestly think they do mechs better than anyone else, and yes, I'm totally biased about that, but it's like, I mean, some are weird, some are cool, but I think, you know, the general storyline along with like the progression of the mechs and just everything else about it, I just think it's fine. There was actually a possibility that its previous game, Overworld on the PSP, was going to take its spot, but I just think Crossrays had better gameplay mechanics that just made it a better game. And yeah, it's really just carried by the mechs, really, because it's Dragon Ball Syndrome. It's the same story you watched, it's just kind of more Xenoverse-y, because you have like custom characters that can just randomly show up. But yeah.
Remember when Justin just said that Gundam does mechs best? Well, guess what? He's wrong.
Oh,
because
shit.
my number 3 is The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 2, which has a mech in it.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Ha. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where I'm going with that. Remember back in 2016 when I said this was my number 10 game, and then when the decade list came around, I said fuck that, and I made it my number 1 game of the decade?
Yeah.
Neither do I. I really enjoy the Legend of Heroes games. I played the Trails in the Skies and the Of Cold Steels. I have not gotten a chance to play the Crossbell games because my laptop sucks. Let's just put it at that. But I prefer Cold Steel 2 over them all, even after playing that goddamn motherfucking ending, Cold Steel 3, hype for Cold Steel 4 though. And it's just a well-paced game, because it has a like calendar system to it, except it's all in 1 month, and you know, you're going very like weekend to weekend in terms of like the pacing of the game. So it really condenses down the what you did in the first game and what you do in the third game into like about a month-ish span of time. And it's just done really well. There's a lot to explore in the game. It's very like it's pretty open, as opposed to most areas in Trails of Cold Steel are kind of linear. You can go around to a lot of different towns in this one, and see sort of like how what's happening in the war kind of actually affects all the people. Combat's excellent. I love all the characters. Music's great. It looks good. Doesn't look great. It looks good. LP coming tomorrow. We're doing it, folks.
Oh God.
We're going through everything all in one day.
Jesus.
All right. Anyway, let's move on to our number 2s. Jack, go ahead.
Hey, Lennon, you want to talk about Chrono Trigger together?
Hey, I'd like to talk about Chrono Trigger right now.
All right, cool. So our number 2s are Chrono Trigger.
Yep. Who would have thought?
Yep. I mean, once it got to this point, I was like, oh yeah, Lennon's number 2 is definitely Chrono Trigger.
Yeah, well, I mentioned mechs, so there's,
Yeah.
I mean, Robot is in Chrono Trigger, but he's not a mech.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Chrono
God,
Trigger.
what a fantastic game.
It really is, just like
It just
objectively.
Yeah.
If you've played Chrono Trigger and you don't like it, then something is wrong with you. Like,
yeah, probably.
I mean, like, come on, Chrono Trigger is like objectively an amazing game. I really don't even like want it's I don't know.
It's just that good. He's speechless.
It's so good. It's so good. You know, I really don't want to say anything without just fucking repeating myself. Like
just go down
like
the
I have been.
Just go down that checklist. Characters,
Characters,
gameplay,
story, gameplay,
setting,
music, art style, etc. Goddamn, it's just all so good. Please play Chrono Trigger.
Hey Jack, when are you gonna LP Chrono Trigger?
Is that my LP?
Isn't that what we decided?
I have no idea. I don't even remember. Is it yours or is it Jack's?
I thought it was Jack's, and then I mentioned I was doing it by accident, and then he was like, oh, you can do it, and I was like, no, it's your LP, and then he was like, you can have it, so I don't know who has it right now.
Alright, we don't know who's doing it.
We'll decide one day, but either way, yeah. You can say
Chrono
words
Trigger
if you want to. Yeah.
Fantastic. I mean, I love being able to combine party members' attacks to do cooler special attacks, depending on what party setup you have. I love all the areas. I mentioned, we talked about one of the areas in our spooky level area. Video. I mean, I literally cannot words right now.
Yeah. I mean, don't worry, me neither.
Okay. Just like, there's just some fantastic RPG-ness going on in this video game. That's it.
That's about it.
Close the book on that. Let's move on.
Alright, my number 2 is actually probably the game I'll have to do the most explaining. It's Dark Cloud 2, also known as Dark Chronicle in certain regions of the world. Dark Cloud 2 I've only talked about like one other time in a major video. The top games ever list, which was years old by now. It's probably horribly out of date for a few of us. Dark Cloud 2 starts off with this humble boy who knows how to use a wrench, and he wants to escape from the city that he lives in because he just wants to go off on an adventure. And then little does he know, he has this gem that he was given by his father that can like take him forward in time, but not backward. And he meets this girl from the future who's from a royal family who has a gem that can only go backwards in time. So they work together, and they have to repair these villages that have been destroyed by this evil entity that's hiding thousands of years in the past and trying to rewrite history so that he's basically the ruler of all of time, or something crazy like that. But anyway, it's just super unique.
It's just the plot to Sonic 06.
but done well.
Jesus.
It is a massive like game lengthwise that blends randomized dungeon exploring and an action or RPG oriented way. So it's kind of like a roguelike, but you still have full control over your character as if it were an action RPG, and you accumulate these materials you use in this Sim City-ish kind of like second set of like gameplay where you have to like rebuild these villages, and you actually have to like put stuff together, put things in certain areas so that villagers that come in you fulfill things for them so that you can go to the future and have the proper development for that area. It's just really cool. It's like I can't really compare it to any other game because it just does everything so differently. There's fishing, you can fish and like breed a fish and like level it up and make it race and stuff, so that's kind of cool. You can golf. Whenever you've beaten a stage, you golf with like this weird energy golf ball. I don't know, it's fucking weird. You get to control a mech in that game, so that's another game with a mech in it. It's also fucking broken because you can like build these materials for it. There's a photography system that gets you materials to build things. You can upgrade your weapons. It's just there's so much you can do. I can't really go into depth about all of it. It's just really amazing game with just really unique experience. That's it. I think that a lot of people that like action RPGs with a lot of depth and a lot of side stuff to do should just try it out. It's great.
It is on the PlayStation 4. You can download
Yes,
it.
you can, and it's not very it's not very expensive either. So yeah. Justin.
Oh, who's that?
It's you. You're number 2. We want to hear it from you.
So remember when I said that Gundam was splashy mechs and Front Mission was lumbering mechs? Well, we're about to go even further beyond, right down to snail-paced tanks.
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, hell yeah.
So, my number 2 is Valkyria Chronicles. This is specifically the original one. I actually do consider 4, to have, the better gameplay and story. But there's just something about Valkyria Chronicles that I don't know if I'm nostalgic for or I just as a start to the series. And, it just ended up becoming my favorite despite the fact that it lacks a lot of features that every single sequel had. I just like the overall story. It's just, It's just it's kind of like an underdog story because it's just a tiny ass militia somehow taking down an entire fucking empire. I don't know how that works, but well, it's more like just kicking them out of your neighborhood because that's really all Gallia is trying to do is remove the empire from their country. And it's mostly just the characters that kind of keep the game together, despite the fact that it's literally an army of characters. They each have their own personalities that will come out as you play. And, even when they get a kill or something, you can kind of look into their personality based on how they respond to it. Some of them will act a bit like a goofball, and some of them will act really fucking violent. So it's each character has their own, quirks and shit, and some characters dislike the most bizarre things. And this can actually play into the strategy, because some characters will like being in a certain place, and other characters will literally lose health from being in a certain place. And, on top of the order system, it's pretty strategic up until your scouts become really broken and you just snap the game over your knee. But other than that, it's a good game. I like all the characters for the most part, and I just think it was a nice, beginning to the series.
The first game is really good. It was a very close toss-up between number 4 and number 1 on my list, just because they're both really solid entries. I gave the polish the edge, but the characters are super good in the first game. So
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So we are going to move on to the number 1s for everyone.
Hey, remember back when I talked about my number 8?
No, I don't.
Okay, well then you should probably talk about it again.
Okay. Landon's number 8 was Xenoblade Chronicles, which is my number 1.
Oh, wow.
Hey, look at that. It's almost like Landon predicted the future.
I can see the future!
Hey, Xenoblade Chronicles. It's that game that I'm playing through right now on the Switch. And, hey, guess what? It's, amazing still. Even, my first time playing it in fucking 8 years, since the original came out. And, yeah, I don't know. It's I guess, you know what, if you want to be, particular, you could say Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, is my number one because it's nothing but improvements over the original in terms of graphics and just some, like, quality of life upgrades, like having a fucking, like, line tracker on the minimap for, like, side quests. And also just regular quests as well. It just makes, like, getting from point A to point B a lot more streamlined. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. God, I've talked about this game so many times. It was in my top 10 games of all time video, or our top 10 games of all time video. It was on my list. I mean, it was on my top games of the decade list. Play Xenoblade. Play Xenoblade. Definitive Edition is out now. It's an amazing game. Please go play it. I adore the world that you explore. It's massive and beautiful, and the music that accompanies it is incredible all the time, always. The cast of characters, like, are all, like, I love, I mean, like, for party members at least, I love all of them. I'm not talking every single character in the game is amazing. Fuck you, Juju. Yeah, I mean, God, I don't know, man. It's, I mean, like...
You good?
Yeah. No, I don't know.
He's having a stroke right now thinking about the game.
All right. I'll take it off your hands for you.
Xenoblade's good. Go play it, please.
All right. My number one, to the surprise of no one, Final Fantasy VII. I broke the rule about the one per franchise, although these two are very different games categorically, so I was like, fuck it, whatever.
It was one per series.
It was,
yeah, not. I mean, I had a Paper Mario and a Mario and Luigi, so, like, whatever.
It's Final Fantasy.
I didn't go with multiple franchises because I played.
But Final Fantasy VII,
15 RPGs.
Yeah. Final Fantasy VII is iconic. What else can I say? Everybody knows the characters by now. Everybody knows the story, the plot. It is objectively not the best aged game, which is thankfully there's like ports that like at least like speed the game up because it kind of slow, and also the character models age like fucking sour ass milk, but the plot is just really great. The characters are still really great. The world that you explore is still one of the most iconic and just kind of well put together worlds of its time, and it still holds up really well. The side stuff that you can do is still really fun to this day, like chocobo racing and breeding, and it's just really cool. The materia system makes for one of the most unique experiences because you can basically kind of break and customize your characters however you want. It kind of leaves the characters a little similar to one another, but you can make them so different that like the kind of character that they are is sort of an expression of what you want to put into them. And Cloud as a main character, ProJared went into this in his review, but I'm just going to kind of regurgitate what he said, where like you get to make a lot of the decisions, which is kind of why I like playing RPGs. I like to roleplay. I like to be a character. Well, this game actually lets you try to be a character. You can choose to be a jerk. You can choose to be a nice guy. It's the games give you some choices, and they do affect certain things later on. The overall scope of the plot doesn't change, but it's still a really nice touch, and it has a lot of iconic moments, and yeah, it's still my favorite game, and it's still my favorite RPG, and I don't think it won't be. I can't really say much about the remake because we only have one part so far, and who fucking knows how long that remake project's gonna go on for. It's holding up pretty good, but it's a totally different experience.
30 years.
It's a totally different.
15.
It's a totally different experience, and what I'm saying is even if I were to talk about it, I would talk about it as a separate game all unto itself. But base Final Fantasy VII is still an iconic game that deserves to be tried out by anybody that likes the genre.
Oh, is that me now?
Yes.
So, to the complete surprise of everyone, my number one is Skies of Arcadia.
Gasp!
Wow.
I did not see this coming.
So yeah, this is a Paradox.
Wait a minute. Speaking of, was Persona 5 on your list at all?
Oh yeah. But this game has been on some other list before, and for good reason, because I still think this is one of Sega's best RPGs, and really just the best RPG I ever played. And yeah, I know it's kind of generic as hell because it's very cliched, and it's like drawing a bunch of tropes from like so many different stories that it's not even funny. But it's just like the nature of the game, the characters, the fact that Vice does not feel any angst whatsoever, no matter how fucking shit the situation gets. Because people die in this game a lot. Like, they die pretty frequently. And there's a lot of, like, really dark moments that kind of come out of nowhere sometimes. And despite all this, the game is still extremely optimistic despite all this. It's like, yeah, we just killed someone, but it's okay. It's just kind of funny to think about. But overall, like, as just like a fun little romp that's kind of like a pirate game, but I don't know how piratey it really is, despite the, like, I mean, they are pirates, and they kind of act more like the Robin Hood kind of characters than like actual pirates. But they don't really do much looting. They kind of just do more like fucking up the Empire, because that's usually the plot that everybody uses. And it's just like, I don't know, it's just a really fun game, and it's like, maybe one day I'll OP it when I, get fucking Dolphin to work. But it's definitely a game that I will always remember. I will always try and play at least once every few years, or maybe even once a year. And it's just, I feel like people should really experience it more. So, like, even if you have to emulate it, I really think you should play this game, because it is really fun. Despite all the cliches, it's still well crafted, and it's like, it's just fun. I don't know how many times I have to say that. So yeah, Skies of Arcadia, definitely my number one. Play Legends if you can, because that also has all the extra content.
Alright. Remember when Jack talked about Paper Mario Thousand Year
Imagine a
Door
world
earlier?
where you wake up in your house,
Wait.
you get a letter.
Wait. Landon.
The
Wait.
first,
Tell
first thing in the morning.
Tell us about Sticker Star, though.
Well, you don't get the letter. The person you're living with gives you the letter. You read it,
Okay.
and an adventure starts.
I just realized
What
my
game
mic.
am I describing?
I just realized my mic was muted the whole time I tried to talk, and then I was like, "Fuck! Why is he not listening to me?"
I'm not listening to you.
Damn.
But what? What were you trying to say?
No, I was gonna say, tell us about Sticker Star.
I swear to
No.
fucking God.
No, that's not how that game starts. I'm describing the opening to Lexine's Quest, a certain generic RPG.
Oh, shit.
Duh. When you can't find the perfect RPG, you make it yourself. Self-plug. Duh. So, Lexine's Quest, a certain generic RPG, is a game set in a world where things happen. People do stuff, and they're made of paper, and it's actually Mario, and it's actually Paper Mario for the Nintendo 64. Wow, that was weird. Weird segue. Both of them have a similar opening, if you didn't notice there. Anyway, I like Paper Mario. It was on a list, and then another list, and then we did, before that other list, there was an LP, and then this list, and then probably another list down the road, and another list. It was a good game. I like it. Jack doesn't. He hates me. Alright.
Shut up.
Thank you for watching our video. I hope you like, comment, subscribe, and join us on the Discord for more funs when we discuss Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, because we talk about that a lot on the Discord. Also Gundam, apparently.
Anyway, so yeah, thank you for watching, and I guess everything that Landon said. We will be doing a bunch of stuff in the future. We still got the summer list, like I mentioned, and we've got a bunch of LPs. Check out our Discord and all that other fun stuff. Join us for streams in the future. And have a good night, evening, or day, and take care.